the space station called Harmony. 7 floated quietly in the darkness of space. It was huge, like a small city made of metal and glass. Thousands of creatures from different planets lived there. Some were tall, some were short, some had fur, some had scales, and some looked like walking crystals. They all came to Harmony. 7 to buy things, sell things, and live their lives together. In the marketplace section of the station, the streets were always busy. Bright lights shone from shop windows. Strange smells of alien food filled the air. Merchants called out in different languages, but everyone could understand each other because of the special translator machines that hung in the air like small floating speakers. Juno walked through this busy marketplace with his father, Taeyong. Juno was 14 years old, with dark hair and brown eyes that noticed everything. His hands had small cuts and oil stain from working in his father's repair shop. He did not talk much. He liked to watch and listen instead. Taeyong was carrying a box of special tools. They were going to deliver these tools to Velker's toy shop. Velker was a Siltan, which many looked like he was made of clear crystal. Light passed through his body and made rainbow colors on the walls. He was very tall and very proud. His shop sold the most expensive toys on the whole station. When Juno and his father entered Velker's shop, everything was perfect and clean. The floor was so shiny that Juno could see his reflection in it. Glass cases held beautiful toys that looked too fancy to play with. Each toy had a small light shining on it, making it look special and important. Velker was talking to one of his workers when they came in. He looked at Taeyong and nodded his crystal head. He did not smile. Silthen people did not have mouths that could smile, but Juno could tell from the way Velker moved that he was not friendly. He acted like he was doing them a favor by letting them into his shop. Taeyong put the box of tools on the counter. Velker opened it and looked at each tool carefully, checking to make sure everything was there. While his father talked business with Velker, Juno stood quietly in the corner. He looked at all the amazing toys around him. There were mechanical butterflies that flew in circles, puzzle boxes that changed colors, and dolls that could talk in any language. Then the door opened. A Drakari woman came in, holding the hand of a small child. The Drakari were dragon-like people. They had scales that shone in the light and small wings on their backs. The woman had dark green scales and looked worried. Her daughter was very young, maybe 6 years old. She had lighter scales that were blue-green, like the color of the ocean. Her golden eyes were red from crying. The little girl held something close to her chest. It was a small mechanical bird, about the size of her hand. One of its wings was bent in the wrong direction. The bird did not move or sing. It just sat there, broken and silent. The Drakari woman, whose name was Myri, walked up to Velker. She held out the broken bird. Her voice was soft, but clear. She asked if Velker could fix the toy. She said it was very important to her daughter. Velker took the bird and looked at it. His crystal fingers turned it around, looking at every part. Then he made a sound like glass clicking together. It was a sound that meant no. He put the bird back in Myri's hand and spoke in a cold voice. He said the bird was too old. He said it was made with old technology that nobody used anymore. He said the parts for such toys did not exist. He said it was not worth fixing. His voice made it sound like the toy was garbage. Myri's voice got stronger. She said she would pay anything. She said money was not a problem. She just wanted her daughter's toy fixed. Please. Velker made that clicking sound again. He said that even with all the money in the galaxy, he would not waste his time on such primitive work. He pointed to his shelves of new toys. He said Myri should buy her daughter a better toy, a modern toy, a toy that actually worked. The little girl, Hyunji, started to cry. Not loud crying, but quiet tears that rolled down her scaled cheeks. She held the broken bird even tighter. Her small wings tried to flutter, but could not open all the way in the crowded shop. Juno watched all of this from his corner. He felt uncomfortable. He wanted to look away, but could not. There was something about how Hyunji held that bird. It reminded him of something. When he was younger, his mother had given him a music box. She died when he was 8. He still had that music box. He would never throw it away, even if it broke. Velker's assistant, another Siltan, started walking toward Myri and Hyunji. It was clear they wanted the Drakari family to leave. Myri stood up straight, keeping her dignity. She thanked Velker in a voice that was cold and formal. Then she took her daughter's hand and turned to go. As they walked toward the door, something small fell from the broken bird. It was a tiny gear, so small it was hard to see. It rolled across the perfect shiny floor. Nobody noticed it except Juno. Myri and Hyunji left the shop. The door closed behind them with a soft sound. Velker turned back to Taeyong and started talking about the tools again, as if nothing had happened, as if he had not just broken a little girl's heart. Juno waited until Velker was not looking. Then he bent down and picked up the tiny gear. It was beautiful, even though it was so small. Someone had made this gear with great care. The edges were smooth and perfect. The teeth that connected it to other gears were shaped exactly right. He put the gear in his pocket and stood up. His father finished talking with Velker. They left the shop together. Outside, the marketplace was still busy and loud. But Juno was not thinking about the noise. He was thinking about the broken bird. He was thinking about Hyunji's tears. He was thinking about how Velker had said the toy was not worth fixing. Taeyong noticed his son was quiet. But Juno was always quiet, so Taeyong did not ask questions. They walked back toward their shop through the crowded streets. Juno's hand was in his pocket, feeling the tiny gear. It was warm from being in his hand. He thought about what his father always said. Taeyong told him that fixing things was not just about making them work. It was about understanding why they mattered to people. A broken engine mattered because someone needed it to fly their ship. A broken translator mattered because someone needed it to talk to their friends. A broken toy mattered because someone loved it. Juno made a decision. He did not know if he could fix the bird. He did not know if he would even see Hyunji again. But he knew he had to try. Not because someone was paying him. Not because it would make him famous. But because it mattered to a little girl who was crying. That was enough reason. He just had to figure out how to find her first. The space station was very big. There were thousands of people living here. But Juno was good at solving problems. He would find a way. As they walked home, Juno looked up at the high ceiling of the station. Through the thick windows, he could see stars. So many stars. In all the huge universe, one small broken toy seemed like nothing. But to Hyunji, it was everything. And that made it important. Juno did not say anything to his father yet. He wanted to think first. He wanted to make a plan. But in his pocket, his fingers held that tiny gear. It was a promise that maybe, just maybe, he could help. Tomorrow, he would start looking for the Drakari family. Tomorrow, he would begin trying to fix what Velker said could not be fixed. Tonight, he would go home and think about how to do the impossible. Because sometimes, the most important things to fix are the ones that other people think are not worth their time. Juno could not sleep that night. He lay in his small bed in the tiny apartment he shared with his father. The ceiling was low and metal, like everything else on the space station. He could hear the quiet hum of the air systems and the soft sound of other families in nearby apartments. His hand kept reaching into his pocket to feel the tiny gear. Even in the dark, he could feel how perfectly it was made. He thought about Hyunji's tears. He thought about how Velker had treated her and her mother like they did not matter. When morning came, Juno got up early. He ate breakfast with his father. Taeyong made simple food, rice and vegetables from the station's farming level. They ate in comfortable silence. Taeyong never pushed Juno to talk. He understood that his son thought better when he was quiet. After breakfast, Juno told his father he wanted to go out for a while. Taeyong looked at him with curious eyes, but nodded. He told Juno to be careful and to come back before lunch. Juno promised he would. Juno went back to the marketplace district. The shops were just opening. Merchants were setting up their displays. The smell of fresh bread from a Duran bakery filled the air. Juno walked to Velker's shop and stood across the street, watching. He waited for almost an hour. People walked by him. Some gave him strange looks. A human boy standing still and staring was unusual. But Juno did not care. He was patient. His father had taught him that patience was important when fixing complicated things. Finally, he saw them. Myri and Hyunji came walking down the street. They were not going to Velker's shop this time. They walked past it without looking. Hyunji held her mother's hand. She looked sad. Her golden eyes did not shine like they should. Juno started following them. He kept some distance behind. He did not want to scare them. He just wanted to see where they went. Maybe then he could figure out how to talk to them. Myri and Hyunji walked through Marketplace and into a different section of the station. This area was not as fancy as where Velker's shop was. The floors here were clean but worn. The lights were bright but not decorative. This was where working families lived and shopped. They entered a small cafe. Through the window, Juno could see tables where different kinds of aliens sat together, drinking hot beverages and eating breakfast. It looked warm and friendly inside. Juno stood outside, not sure what to do next. His heart was beating fast. He was nervous. What would he say? What if they thought he was strange? What if they did not want his help? Juno was not good at talking to people. He never knew the right words to use. He walked around the area for a while. He looked at the other shops. There was a store that sold fabric, another that fixed old electronics, and one that sold food from different planets. Everyone here seemed to work hard for their money. Nobody looked rich, but everyone looked like they belonged to a community. Almost 2 hours passed. Juno sat on a bench near the cafe. He watched ships dock at the station through a big window in the corridor. Some ships were huge, carrying hundreds of passengers. Others were small, just big enough for 1 or 2 people. All of them were going somewhere. All of them had a purpose. Juno thought about his purpose. Why did he want to help Hyunji? He did not know her. She was not his friend. Her mother had not asked him for help. But when he thought about walking away, about going home and forgetting about the broken bird, he felt wrong. It felt like giving up on something important. Then the cafe door opened. Myri and Hyunji came out. Hyunji was holding a small bag with what looked like sweet cakes inside, but she still looked sad. The treats did not make her happy. Juno stood up. His legs felt shaky. His mouth was dry, but he walked toward them anyway. He had to do this. He had to try. When he got close, he said hello. His voice came out quiet and a little rough. Myri turned around, surprised. She looked at Juno carefully. Her eyes were sharp and protective. Hyunji hid a little behind her mother's leg. Juno knew he had to explain quickly. He pulled the tiny gear from his pocket and held it out. He told them that he was at Velker's shop yesterday. He saw what happened. He found this piece when Hyunji dropped it. Hyunji peeked out from behind her mother. She saw the gear. Her golden eyes got wide. She knew it was from her bird. Myri looked at the gear, then at Juno. She asked him why he followed them. Her voice was not angry, but it was careful. She needed to protect her daughter. She did not know if she could trust a strange boy. Juno understood. He would not trust a stranger either. He took a deep breath and explained. He told them his father ran a repair shop. He had been learning to fix things since he was very young. He looked at the broken bird yesterday, and he thought maybe, just maybe, he could fix it. Myri shook her head slowly. She said that Velker was the best toy maker on the station. If he said it could not be fixed, then it probably could not be fixed. She thanked Juno for returning the gear, but her voice said she did not believe anyone could help. Juno felt desperate. He was losing his chance. He said that Velker was good at making new toys, but that did not mean he was good at fixing old ones. Sometimes fixing old things needed different skills. His father taught him that every machine had a story, and you had to understand the story to fix it properly. Hyunji tugged on her mother's sleeve. She whispered something that Juno could not hear. Myri looked down at her daughter. They had a quiet conversation with their eyes, the way mothers and daughters sometimes do. Finally, Myri asked Juno a question. She asked him why he would do this. Why would he want to help strangers? What did he want from them? Juno thought about how to answer. He looked at Hyunji. She was looking back at him with those big golden eyes, full of hope and fear. He remembered how he felt when his mother died. He remembered holding her music box and wishing he could hear her voice one more time. He told them the truth. He said that the toy mattered to Hyunji. He could see how much he loved it. That was reason enough to try. He did not want money. He did not want anything except to try to help. Myri studied Juno's face for a long time. She was looking for lies. She was looking for bad intentions. But all she saw was a nervous boy who seemed to really care about helping her daughter. She made a decision. She told Hyunji to go get the bird from their apartment. They lived just around the corner. Hyunji ran off, her small wings fluttering with excitement. While they waited, Myri told Juno about the bird. She said it was made by Hyunji's grandmother. She was a master craftsperson, very famous among the Drakari people. She made the bird especially for Hyunji when she was born. She programmed it to sing a special song, a lullaby that she used to sing to Hyunji every night. 3 months ago, the grandmother died. The bird was the only thing that still had her song. When it broke 2 weeks ago, Hyunji cried for days. Myri tried to fix it herself, but did not know how. That was why she took it to Velker. Juno listened to all of this. He felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier. This was not just a toy. This was someone's last connection to a person they loved. If he failed, he would not just be failing to fix a machine. He would be failing to preserve a memory. Hyunji came running back. She held a mechanical bird very carefully in both hands. She walked up to Juno and looked up at him. Then, very gently, she placed the bird in his hands. The bird was even more damaged than Juno remembered. The wing was bent badly. Several tiny gears were visible through a crack in the body. The whole thing felt fragile, like it might fall apart if he held it too tight. Juno looked at Hyunji and made a promise. He said he would try his very best. He could not promise it would work, but he would be very careful and he would not give up easily. Hyunji smiled for the first time since yesterday. It was a small smile, but it was real. She told Juno that her grandmother always said the best workers were the ones who cared about what they were fixing. Myri gave Juno her contact information. She told him where they lived. She said he could take as long as he needed. Then she did something unexpected. She hugged him. It was quick and a little awkward, but it was full of gratitude and hope. Juno walked back toward his father's shop. The broken bird felt warm in his hands. He was scared. He was excited. He was determined. He had no idea if he could actually do this, but he was going to try with everything he had. Because sometimes, the most important promises are the ones you make to people who need hope. When Juno got back to his father's repair shop, Taeyong was working on a navigation computer for a Valkyrian ship captain. His hands moved quickly and carefully over the machine circuits. He looked up when Juno came in. Juno held out the mechanical bird. His father put down his tools and took the bird gently. He turned it over in his hands, looking at every detail. His experienced eyes saw all the problems at once. The bent wing, the cracked casing, the worn gears inside. Taeyong asked Juno where he got it. Juno explained everything. He told his father about Velka refusing to help, about following Myri and Hyunji, about promising to try to fix it. Taeyong listened to all of it without interrupting. When Juno finished talking, his father was quiet for a moment. Then he asked a simple question. He asked Juno what he thought needed to be done. Juno thought about it. He said he needed to take the bird apart first. He needed to see every piece. Only then could he understand how to fix it. Taeyong nodded and handed the bird back. He told Juno to use his workbench and to take his time. Juno had his own small workbench in the corner of the shop. His father had made it for him years ago when Juno first showed interest in fixing things. It had good lights and all the tools he needed. Juno sat down and carefully placed the bird on a soft cloth. He started taking the bird apart very slowly. Each screw was tiny. Each piece was delicate. He put every part in a separate small container and wrote down where it came from. His father had taught him to always document everything. That way, he would not forget how things went back together. It took him 3 hours to fully disassemble the bird. By the time he finished, the workbench was covered with tiny pieces. Gears smaller than his fingernail, springs as thin as hair, screws that he needed a magnifying glass to see properly. And in the center of all these pieces was a small crystal. It was about the size of a marble, but it was not round. It had many flat sides that caught the light and made tiny rainbows. This was the resonator crystal that made the bird sing. Juno picked up the crystal very carefully. He could see a crack running through one side of it. The crack was thin, but it was there. This was a big problem, maybe the biggest problem. He called his father over. Taeyong looked at the crystal through a magnifying lens. He made a soft sound of understanding. He told Juno that this type of crystal was very special. It was grown, not made. Each one was unique. The crack meant it might not sing the same song anymore. Juno felt his heart sink. If the crystal could not be fixed, then the bird would never sing Hyunji's grandmother's song again. It might sing a different song, or it might not sing at all. He had promised to try his best. But what if his best was not good enough? Taeyong saw the worry on his son's face. He put a hand on Juno's shoulder. He told him not to give up yet. He said that on a station with thousands of different species, someone somewhere would know about these crystals. Juno just had to find them. That evening, Juno used the shop's computer to search the station's directory. He looked for anyone who worked with crystals. He found jewelry makers, but they worked with different kinds of crystals. He found scientists who studied crystal formations, but they did not repair them. He found merchants who sold decorative crystals, but they knew nothing about resonator crystals. Juno went to bed that night feeling discouraged, but he did not give up. The next morning, he decided to go to the station's science district. Maybe someone there could help. The science district was different from the marketplace. Everything was clean and white. People wore special coats and carried data tablets. They all looked very smart and very busy. Juno felt out of place in his simple work clothes with oil stains on them. He went into several shops and offices. Most people were too busy to talk to him. Others listened but said they could not help. One person told him to just buy a new crystal. Juno explained that each crystal was unique, but the person just shrugged and went back to work. Juno was about to give up for the day when he saw a small shop at the end of a quiet corridor. The sign said crystal analysis and repair. The shop looked old and a bit dusty, but it was exactly what he needed. He went inside. The shop was full of equipment that Juno did not recognize. There were machines with lights and screens, tables covered with crystals of every color and size. And in the back, working at a bench, was a human woman with gray hair tied back in a bun. She looked up when Juno came in. Her eyes were kind but curious. She asked if she could help him. Juno carefully unwrapped the resonator crystal and showed it to her. The woman's eyes went wide. She took the crystal gently and held it up to the light. She said her name was Sora. She told Juno that she had not seen a Drakari resonator crystal in many years. They were beautiful and rare. She asked where he got it. Juno told her the whole story. About Hyunji and the broken bird. About the grandmother's song. About his promise to try to fix it. Sora listened carefully to every word. When he finished, Sora was quiet for a moment. Then she said she would help him. She refused to take any payment. She said that some things were more important than money. Helping a child keep a memory of her grandmother was one of those things. Over the next 2 days, Juno went to Sora's shop every morning. She taught him about resonator crystals. She showed him how they worked. Each crystal had a natural frequency, a way it liked to vibrate. When you ran energy through it in the right way, it would sing. The crack in the crystal had changed its frequency a little bit. Sora used a special laser to seal the crack. The work was incredibly delicate. Her hands had to be perfectly steady. One mistake could shatter the entire crystal. Juno watched everything. He asked questions. He learned. Sora was patient with him. She explained things in simple words. She let him help with the easier parts of the work. On the second day, the repair was finished. Sora used a special machine to test the crystal. She played a tone through it. The crystal responded with a beautiful, clear sound. It was not exactly the same as before, but it was close. Very close. Sora told Juno that the song would probably sound a little different. Maybe the pitch would be slightly higher or lower. Maybe some of the harmonics would change, but the melody would be the same. The heart of the song would still be there. Juno thanked Sora many times. She smiled and told him to come back and tell her if it worked. She wanted to know if Hyunji liked her bird's new song. Back at his father's shop, Juno began the careful work of putting the bird back together. He had fixed the bent wing by carefully reshaping the metal. He had made new gears to replace the worn ones, using materials from his father's supply closet. Now, with the repaired crystal, he could complete the assembly. It took him an entire evening. Every piece had to go in exactly the right place. Every screw had to be tightened just enough, not too much. His eyes hurt from looking at tiny parts for so long. His fingers were sore, but he did not stop. Finally, the last piece was in place. The bird looked whole again. The wing was straight. The casing was closed. It looked like it did before it broke, maybe even better. Taeyong stood beside Juno. He told his son to test it. Juno's hands were shaking. This was the moment that mattered. All the work, all the time, all the help from Sora, it all came down to this. Juno found the small key on the bird's back. He turned it slowly. He could feel the mechanism winding up inside. Click, click, click. Then he let go. The bird's wings spread open. They moved smoothly, perfectly. The tiny head tilted to one side, and then it began to sing. The sound filled the workshop. It was beautiful, clear and pure and full of emotion. The melody was like water flowing over stones, like wind through trees, like a voice calling from far away. It was the kind of music that made you remember people you loved. Juno felt tears in his eyes. He did not know why he was crying. Maybe because the song was so beautiful. Maybe because he had actually done it. Maybe because he knew how happy Hyeonji would be. Taeyong put his hand on Juno's shoulder. He did not say anything. He did not need to. The pride in his eyes said everything. The bird finished its song and went still. Juno wound it up again and listened again. Perfect. It was perfect. Tomorrow, he would take it back to Hyeonji. Tomorrow, he would see if the song was close enough to her grandmother's lullaby. Tonight, he just sat and listened to the mechanical birds sing in the quiet workshop. Sometimes the hardest things to fix are the ones that matter most. But that is exactly why they are worth fixing. The next morning, Juno woke up early. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about bringing the bird back to Hyeonji. What if she did not like it? What if the song was too different? What if he had worked so hard only to disappoint her? He got dressed and ate a quick breakfast. Taeyong was already at his workbench, but he stopped when he saw Juno. He asked if today was the day. Juno nodded. His father smiled and told him everything would be fine. The bird sang beautifully. Hyeonji would love it. Juno carefully packed the mechanical bird in a protective case. He wrapped it in soft cloth so it would not get damaged on the trip. Then he left the shop and headed toward the residential sector where Myri and Hyeonji lived. The station was busy as always. People rushed to work or to school. Ships arrived and departed. The announcement system called out gate numbers in multiple languages. But Juno barely noticed any of it. All he could think about was the bird in his bag. When he reached the residential sector, he found the building where Myri and Hyeonji lived. It was a simple building, clean but not fancy. Families lived here who worked regular jobs. He found their apartment number and pressed the communication button. A few seconds later, Myri's voice came through the speaker. She sounded surprised. She had not expected him so soon. She told him to come up. The door unlocked with soft beep. Juno took the elevator to the third floor. His hands were sweating. His heart was beating fast. He walked down the corridor and found their door. Before he could knock, it opened. Myri stood there, looking at him with wide eyes. She had not really believed he would come back. She had not truly believed anyone could fix the bird. Behind her, Juno could see Hyeonji sitting at a small table. She was drawing with colored pencils. Myri invited him inside. The apartment was small but cozy. There were pictures on the walls showing Drakari families. One large picture showed an older Drakari woman with kind eyes. That must be Hyeonji's grandmother, Juno thought. Hyeonji looked up from her drawing. When she saw Juno, she jumped up from her chair. Her golden eyes were wide with hope and fear. She did not run to him. She just stood there, frozen, afraid to hope too much. Juno did not make her wait. He knelt down so he was at her level. He carefully opened his bag and took out the protective case. Then he opened the case and lifted out the mechanical bird. Hyeonji gasped. The bird looked perfect. The wings were straight. The body was whole. It looked just like she remembered from before it broke. Her hands reached out, then pulled back. She was afraid to touch it. Afraid it might break again. Juno smiled gently. He told her it was okay. He told her the bird was fixed, and it was strong now. She could hold it, very carefully. Hyeonji took the bird in her small hands. Her claws were gentle, not want to damage it. Then Juno showed her the winding key on the bird's back. He told her to turn it, just like her grandmother used to do, Hyunji's hands were shaking. She turned the key slowly. Click, click, click. The sound was exactly like she remembered. She let go of the key and held the bird close to her chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wings spread, the little head tilted, and the song began. The melody filled the small apartment. It was clear and beautiful, pure notes that seemed to carry memory and love. It was a lullaby Hyunji's grandmother had sung to her every night before bed, the song that had helped her fall asleep, the song that made her feel safe and loved. Tears started rolling down Hyunji's scaled cheeks, but these were not sad tears. These were tears of joy and relief and love. She clutched the singing bird to her chest and cried. Her small wings fluttered with emotion. Myri covered her mouth with her hand. She was crying too. She recognized the song perfectly. It was her mother's voice, preserved in crystal and gears. She had thought she would never hear it again. The song sounded almost exactly like it used to, maybe a little different, but the heart of it was the same. When the song ended, Hyunji looked up at Juno. Her face was wet with tears, but she was smiling the biggest smile Juno had ever seen. She said thank you in a small voice. Then, without warning, she launched herself at Juno and hugged him tight. Juno was not used to hugs from anyone except his father, but he hugged Hyunji back carefully. She was small and warm, and her scales felt smooth against his arms. She whispered thank you again and again into his shoulder. When Hyunji finally let go, Myri came over. She tried to give Juno money. She pulled out a credit chip and held out to him. She said he deserved payment for such amazing work. She said she would pay him whatever he wanted. Juno shook his head. He told her he did not want money. He had done this because it mattered to Hyunji. That was enough reason. That was enough reward. Myri looked at him for a long moment. Then she put the credit chip away. She said that Juno was special. Not many people would do something like this for strangers. She said she was grateful, more grateful than words could express. Then she did something Juno did not expect. She insisted that he stay for lunch. She would not take no for an answer. She said it was the least she could do. Juno agreed, feeling a little shy but also happy. Myri made food from her home planet. The dishes had names Juno could not pronounce, but they tasted wonderful, spicy and sweet at the same time. While they ate, Hyunji kept the bird next to her plate. Every few minutes, she would wind it up and listen to it sing again. During lunch, Myri told Juno stories about her mother. She talked about how the grandmother had been a famous craftsperson among the Drakari people. She made toys and music boxes, and all kinds of beautiful mechanical things. Every piece she made was special and unique. She told him that Hyunji had been very close to her grandmother. When the grandmother got sick, Hyunji spent every day with her. And when she died, Hyunji was heartbroken. The bird was the only thing that still connected her to those memories. Juno listened to all of this. He understood now why the bird was so important. It was not just a toy. It was a piece of someone Hyunji loved. By fixing it, he had not just repaired a machine. He had preserved a memory. He had given Hyunji back a part of her grandmother. After lunch, Hyunji showed Juno her drawings. She had drawn pictures of her grandmother, of the bird, of her favorite places on the station. She was a good artist for someone so young. Juno told her the drawings were beautiful. She beamed with pride. Then Hyunji drew something new. She drew a picture of a human boy and a young Drakari standing together. Between them, she drew the mechanical bird with its wings spread, singing. When she finished, she carefully tore the page out of her sketchbook and gave it to Juno. She told him it was a thank you present. She wanted him to remember her and the bird. Juno took the drawing carefully. He told her he would keep it forever. He would put it up in his father's shop, where he could see it every day. When it was time to leave, Myri walked Juno to the door. She asked him something. She asked if she could tell other people about what he had done. She said there were many families on the station who had precious things that needed fixing, things that other repair shops said were too old or not worth the effort. Juno felt nervous about the idea of more people coming to him. He was not good with attention, but he thought about it. If he could help other families the way he helped Hyunji, maybe that would be good. He told Myri she could share his father's shop information. Hyunji hugged him again before he left. She told him he was her friend now. Juno smiled and told her she was his friend too. It felt good to say that. He did not have many friends. As Juno rode the elevator down and walked back through the station toward home, he felt different, lighter somehow, happier. He had done something that really mattered. He had helped someone who needed help, and he had made a friend. In his pocket, he carried Hyunji's drawing. In his heart, he carried a memory of her smile and the sound of the bird song. He had learned something important. The best work was not the work that paid the most money. The best work was the work that made a difference in someone's life. When he got home, Taeyong asked how it went. Juno told him everything. His father listened with a smile on his face. When Juno finished, Taeyong hugged him. He told Juno he was proud, not because the repair was difficult, but because Juno had a good heart. That night, Juno hung Hyunji's drawing on the wall next to his workbench. Every time he looked at it, he would remember why he did what he did. He would remember that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can mean everything to someone. 3 days after Juno returned the mechanical bird to Hyunji, something unexpected happened. A Valkyrian woman came to Taeyang's repair shop. She was elderly, with soft purple skin and 4 arms. She carried a small box very carefully. She asked for Juno by name. Taeyong called his son from the back room. The woman opened her box and showed Juno what was inside. It was an old compass, the kind used for navigating through space before modern computers. The glass cover was cracked, and the needle no longer pointed true. She explained that this compass had belonged to her husband. He had been a ship captain for 50 years. He used this compass on every voyage. When he died last year, she wanted to keep it working. But every repair shop she visited told her it was too old. The parts did not exist anymore. She should just buy a new one. Then she heard about a human boy who fixed her carry bird that nobody else would fix. She heard he did it because it mattered to someone. She was hoping maybe he could help her too. Juno took the compass carefully. He examined it closely. It was old, but it was beautifully made. He told the woman he would try. She smiled with all 4 of her hands clasped together in gratitude. The next day, another person came. Then another, and another. Word was spreading through the working districts of the station. There was a repair shop where they cared about the stories behind broken things, where they understood that old did not mean worthless. A Duran father brought his daughter's first music player. A human woman brought her grandfather's old watch. A Siltahan student brought a calculator that had belonged to her favorite teacher. Each item was precious to someone. Each one had a story. Juno and Taeyong worked on all of them. Sometimes the repairs were simple. Sometimes they were very complicated. But they approached each one with the same care and respect. They listened to the stories. They understood why these things mattered. The shop became busier than it had ever been. But it was a different kind of busy. People came not just to drop off items, but to wait and talk. Families from different species sat together in the waiting area. They shared stories about their treasured possessions. They talked about the people they had lost and the memories they wanted to keep. Juno found himself talking more than he ever had before. He was still quiet, but he learned that sometimes listening was just as important as talking. And when he did speak, people listened. They respected his knowledge and his kindness. Hyunji came to visit the shop often, sometimes with her mother, sometimes alone. She would sit at Juno's workbench and watch him work. She asked questions about how things worked. She was curious and smart. Juno enjoyed teaching her. One afternoon, Hyunji brought her mechanical bird with her. She wanted to show Juno something. She wound up the bird and let it sing. Then she sang along with it. She had memorized every note. Her voice was young and a little off-key, but it was beautiful because it was full of love. She told Juno that every night before bed, she listened to the bird song. It helped her remember her grandmother. It made her feel less sad. She thanked him again for fixing it. Juno told her she did not need to keep thanking him, but she said she wanted to. Some things deserve to be thanked for every day. One day, someone unexpected came to the shop. It was Velker, the Silthen Toymaker. His crystalline body reflected the workshop lights as he entered. Everyone in the waiting area became quiet. They knew who he was. They knew he was the one who had refused to help Hyunji. Velker asked to speak with Juno. His voice was still proud, but less cold than before. Juno came out from the back room, wiping oil from his hands. He looked at Velker calmly, without fear or anger. Velker said he had heard about the Drakari bird. He said he wanted to see the repair documentation. He did not believe a human boy could fix what he could not. Juno did not argue. He simply showed Velker his notes, the detailed diagrams, the photos of each step, the information about the crystal repair. Velker studied everything carefully. His crystal fingers traced over the pages. Finally, he looked up at Juno. In a voice that was quieter than before, he said the work was exceptional. The repair was better than he would have expected from someone so young. Then Velker said something that surprised everyone. He said he had been wrong, not just about the bird, but about many things. He had forgotten that the value of an object was not in its price or its technology. The value was in what it meant to someone. It was not quite an apology. Velker was too proud for that, but it was an admission, an acknowledgement that he had been unkind, and that Juno had been right to try. Juno accepted this with a simple nod. He did not need Velker to apologize. He did not need Velker to admit defeat. He had not fixed the bird to prove anything to anyone. He had done it because Hyunji needed help. After Velker left, the people in the waiting areas started talking again. Some of them smiled. They liked seeing the proud Toymaker humbled a little. But Juno did not join in their satisfaction. He went back to work. There were still things that needed fixing. Weeks passed. The shop continued to be busy. Taeyong had to order more supplies. They worked longer hours, but neither of them minded. The work felt meaningful. Every repaired item went back to someone who cared about it. Every successful fix brought joy to someone's life. Juno changed during this time. He was still quiet. He still preferred working with his hands to talking, but he was more confident, more comfortable with people. He had learned that he did not need to be loud or bold to make a difference. Quiet kindness could be just as powerful. One evening, after the shop closed, Juno and his father sat together eating dinner. Taeyong looked at his son with pride. He told Juno that he had become a fine mechanic, but more importantly, he had become a fine person. Juno asked his father how he knew which repairs to accept and which to turn away. Taeyong thought about it. Then he said something simple but true. He said to accept the ones that matter. And the truth was, they all matter to someone, so you accept them all. That night, as Juno lay in bed, he thought about everything that had happened since the day he saw Hyunji crying in Velker's shop. One small decision to help had changed so much, not just for Hyunji, but for many people, and for himself. He had learned that fixing things was about more than technical skill. It was about understanding people. It was about caring enough to try when others said it was impossible. It was about seeing value where others saw only old junk. The next morning, Hyunji came to the shop early. She had brought fresh pastries from a cafe where her mother worked. She shared them with Juno and Taeyong. While they ate, she told them about school and her friends and the new drawing she was making. The mechanical bird sat on the counter nearby. Occasionally, Hyunji would wind it up just to hear it sing. The song filled the workshop with its beautiful melody. Other customers who were waiting would stop talking and listen. Some of them smiled. Some of them got tears in their eyes, remembering their own loved ones. That bird had become something special. It was not just Hyunji's treasure anymore. It had become a symbol for the whole shop, a reminder that some things were worth saving. Some memories were worth preserving. Some songs were worth hearing again. As Juno worked at his bench that day, he looked at Hyunji's drawing on the wall, the picture of a human boy and a Drakari girl, with a singing bird between them. It made him smile. That drawing represented more than just a friendship. It represented a choice he had made, a choice to care, a choice to help, a choice to try. In a universe full of millions of species and billions of people, one quiet human boy had made a difference, not by being the strongest or the smartest or the richest, but by being kind, by caring about what mattered to others, by refusing to give up on something just because it was old or broken or difficult. And that, perhaps, was the most human thing of all, the ability to see value in the forgotten, the willingness to fix what others threw away, the determination to preserve what others thought was lost. the kindness to help without expecting anything in return. Outside the shop window, the space station continued its endless dance through the stars. Ships came and went. People lived their lives. The universe kept turning. But in one small repair shop, a boy had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness creates the biggest ripples. And sometimes, fixing one small broken bird can change everything. The mechanical bird sang its song. Hyunji smiled. Juno worked. And in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be.